This is efitter7's Lionel Fastrack layout update number 9. This is going to be a pretty big update as it is after the holiday season, and it will also be my last layout update for the year 2013 as tonight is New Year's Eve. Let's go ahead and get a jump on things. Starting in this area of the layout, you can see that there are a few new things. I picked up a couple of Woodland Scenics premium trees, as you can see in the foreground and in the background. I also picked up this convertible 66 Ford Mustang to put outside the house that I built. And if we come down to the Lionel Municipal Building, we can also see that I picked up a couple of street lights. Here is another angle of those little lamps that I got. They do come wired, however I stripped the wires and just super glued these into place. Because the wiring is a little different. They hook up to a battery pack and I'd have to drill a large hole in the layout and it would require a lot of work. I might try it on the next ones I install, but as of right now these are not lit. So if we move the camera, we're going to pan down into the industrial part of the layout. You see there's still no ground cover and the buildings are still there. Here we see some of the track has been browned with an Elmer's brown paint pen. I recently saw a couple videos of people on YouTube who have been weathering their Fastrack, and I think I'm going to give it a try, and from the looks of it, I'm going to continue it down around the rest of the layout. In the intermodal yard section of the layout, we see that not a whole lot has changed. We'll pan down this way, and yet again, not a whole lot has changed. This is because I've been doing a lot of work on other parts of the layout. So let's go through the tunnel. Coming out of the tunnel, we see the Department 56 windmill. We carry on and we see the road with the gravel driveway, the old farm truck. Here we lead into the farm scene. Not a whole lot has changed since the last update, but if you can notice, I have ballasted the track a little bit back there. I think it looks pretty cool. Once again, like the weathering on the rails, I will be continuing this around the rest of the layout when the time comes. From this angle, we're able to see that I have finally gotten all of the track needed to complete the main line. Now you can see where the brunt of my work has been focused this trip. I've been basically building this entire hillside and scenicking it. So let's go take a closer look. I've used a lot of Woodland Scenics cloth and paper, hot glue, cardboard lattice, extruded foam, all sorts of things to create this hillside. I've covered it with all sorts of Woodland Scenics ground foam, clump foliage, rocks, and even some dirt from my own backyard. I think this culvert scene turned out especially nice. I've used static grass tufts, Woodland Scenics culvert kit, some talus rock and a little bit of ballast, as well as some clump foliage to kind of blend it all in. I think it turned out pretty nice. This is a washout area for when it rains. The ballast kind of washes out off of the main line. Thought that was pretty cool. Kind of wanted to incorporate something like that because I see it a lot on the Indiana Railroad main line. Coming down this way, we see a dirt footpath leading off the railroad tracks and coming down to the Walthers O-scale oil pump or oil derrick. I recently purchased this from my local hobby shop. I had been looking at a couple on eBay and actually found it at my hobby shop for a lot cheaper. It is actually powered. There's a motor housed back here, and it will actually pump, and you can vary the speed using a little power pack, I guess. I have an auxiliary power pack that I'll use to power this that I got from an old train set. It runs on AC power, and what I've done is I've added ballast around the base to kind of blend it in to the rest of my scenery, and I've weathered it with AIM weathering powders, and it looks pretty nice. You actually have to drill holes through your benchwork to run the wires, And if you can see that hole there, the metal rod actually dips down under the layout, which is pretty neat. I'll start it up for you guys in a second. Pretty neat. Coming down the interchange and car shop lead, we see that I picked up an MTH overhead signal. This is a double track signal, and I know it's not placed in a prototypical position, but it's the best I could do, and I think it looks pretty good there. Moving further back along, I know it's not O-scale related, but earlier today I was out rail fanning the Indiana Railroad line near my house, and I found this track spike, so I picked it up and I brought it home. I've clear coated it, and I think I'm gonna hang it up on my wall with my other railroad memorabilia. So that was pretty cool. Looking further down the main line by the car shop, we see that not a whole lot has changed. This basically wraps up the update for the layout, so now let's get into some of the things that I've picked up over the last couple of weeks. I'm going to start my purchase list off with the smaller items and lead up to the bigger ticket items. So we can see right here I picked up a little bottle of JT's Mega Steam, some hobby tack for some things I've picked up, which I'll show you in a little bit, and this really cool product called Scene Masters Botanicals. It's actually put out by Walthers, and they're static grass tufts, and they're HO scale, but they work pretty well for O scale. Those are pretty neat. You just use white glue and you can glue them down on your layout, and it takes the hassle out of making your own static grass tufts, which is pretty cool. So coming along this way, I picked up some Woodland Scenics tree armatures, as well as a big thing of Woodland Scenics clump foliage, which you see right here. While we're down here, I also picked up that MTH Rail King signal that I showed you earlier, as well as the Walthers 027 operating oil pump. For the area around the car shop, I picked up some Woodland Scenic Smooth It and some concrete top coat. I also picked up a bottle of matte medium, and for my birthday I received a large pack of assorted AIM weathering products, which are pretty cool. This one goes out to Train Room Gary, who recently did a little video series on how to build an Ameritown building. This OGR kit is actually put together really well. It's very simple to build, and there's a lot of things you can do. Like Train Room Gary explained in his videos, how the different pieces of these can be very useful and easy to scratch build with. I might give that a try in the future. Let's take a look at some of the details I've added to this building kit. If we take a look at the building, you can see that I've rubbed spackleding into the mortar lines on the building. I've also added a little bit of weathering below the windows, and I added this lamp over the doorway. In the window we can see a sign for Colonial Ice Cream, which I printed out and added myself. If we turn the building on the side, we can see that I added this sign. This is a Schultz beer sign that came in a older HO scale kit. What I've done is I've sanded it down so that it's very thin with a piece of sandpaper. And then I glued it into place with white glue and basically made it look like it was one of those old signs that were painted on the side of old buildings. Here we see a vent with some soot and some graffiti from the local graffiti artist who tags up all the trains. Finally, on the back of the building, there's a tag on the garage door, there's an old Coca-Cola sign, and the top window has been boarded up with a piece of plywood. That about wraps it up for the details on this building. It's going to be placed up here along the road that goes in front of the car shop and the motorcycle shop, and it'll be placed in this open area right here. So with some of the money I was given for the holidays, I was able to pick up a few new pieces of rolling stock for the layout. In front of us we see an Atlas Masterline tank car in the ADMX paint scheme. And I'd like to say that this is a really great car. It has tons of detail and it looks great on the layout. It's got operating rolling bearing caps on the trucks and really nice brake hose detail, as well as a ton of underbody detail under the car, which is fantastic. The next car I was able to pick up was this Atlas O bulkhead flat car in the Indiana Harbor Belt paint scheme. Like the Masterline tank car we saw before, this also has rolling bearing caps and really nice brake hose detail, but on the other hand, it doesn't have the intricate underbody detail as the tank car did. I picked this car up because it is Indiana Harbor Belt, and that is a railroad that is pretty close to my heart. So now this is the time that most everyone's been waiting for, and it's the new big purchases for the layout. So let's go ahead and get started. So this is probably the biggest purchase for the layout. It's a new MTH Protosound 3.0 equipped SD90 43 Mac diesel engine. You can see it's in the Indiana Railroad paint scheme, and I actually bought this engine as soon as I could because I know that they'd be running out fast. This is an amazing engine. It has great sound, great smoke features, operating ditch lights, proto couplers, you name it, it's got it. It is top of the line MTH, and it is a great engine. So this was the next purchase that I got for the layout. It is an MTH Rail King Scale GP9 diesel engine. It is equipped with Protosound 3.0, and it is in the Indiana Railroad paint scheme. This is a great little engine. It's got great smoke effects, tons and tons of bass, really crisp, good sound, and it's a really fun engine to run.